This philosopher, called the zenith and rising sun of all the alchemists, was born at Einsiedeln near Zurich in the year 1493. His true name was Hohenheim, to which, as he himself informs us, were prefixed the baptismal names of Aureolus, Theophrastus, Bombastes, Paracelsus. The last of these he chose for his common designation while he was yet a boy, and rendered it, before he died, one of the most famous in the annals of his time. His father, who was a physician, educated his son for the same pursuit. The latter was an apt scholar and made great progress. By chance, the work of Isaac Hollandus fell into his hands, and from that time he became smitten with the mania of the philosopher's stone. All his thoughts henceforth were devoted to metallurgy, and he travelled into Sweden that he might visit the mines of that country and examine the ores while they yet lay in the bowels of the earth. He also visited Trithemius at the monastery of Spanheim and obtained instructions from him in the science of alchemy. Continuing his travels, he proceeded through Prussia and Austria into Turkey, Egypt, and Tartary, and thence, returning to Constantinople, learned, as he boasted, the art of transmutation and became possessed of the elixir vitae. He then established himself as a physician in his native Switzerland at Zurich and commenced writing works upon alchemy and medicine, which immediately fixed the attention of Europe. Their great obscurity was no impediment to their fame, for the less the author was understood, the more the demonologists, fanatics, and philosopher's stone hunters seemed to appreciate him. His fame as a physician kept pace with that which he enjoyed as an alchemist, owing to his having effected some happy cures by means of mercury and opium, drugs unceremoniously condemned by his professional brethren. In the year 1526, he was chosen professor of physics and natural philosophy in the University of Basel, where his lectures attracted vast numbers of students. He denounced the writings of all former physicians as tending to mislead, and publicly burned the works of Galen and Avicenna as quacks and impostors. He exclaimed in presence of the admiring and half-bewildered crowd who assembled to witness the ceremony that there was more knowledge in his shoestrings than in the writings of these physicians. Continuing in the same strain, he said, all the universities in the world were full of ignorant quacks, but that he, Paracelsus, overflowed with wisdom. "You will all follow my new system," said he, with furious gesticulations. "Avicenna, Galen, Rhazes, Montagnana, Mamet, you will all follow me, ye professors of Paris, Montpellier, Germany, Cologne, and Vienna, and all ye that dwell on the Rhine and the Danube, ye that inhabit the isles of the sea. And ye also Italians, Dalmatians, Athenians, Arabians, Jews, ye will all follow my doctrines, for I am the monarch of medicine." But he did not long enjoy the esteem of the good citizens of Bel. It is said that he indulged in wine so freely as not unfrequently to be seen in the streets in a state of intoxication. This was ruinous for a physician, and his good fame decreased rapidly. His ill fame increased in still greater proportion, especially when he assumed the airs of a sorcerer. He boasted of the legions of spirits at his command, and of one especially, which he kept imprisoned in the hilt of his sword. Wetterus, who lived 27 months in his service, relates that he often threatened to invoke a whole army of demons and show him the great authority which he could exercise over them. He let it be believed that the spirit in his sword had custody of the elixir of life, by means of which he could make anyone live to be as old as the antediluvians. He also boasted that he had a spirit at his command called Azoth, whom he kept imprisoned in a jewel, and in many of the old portraits he is represented with a jewel inscribed with the word Azoth in his hand. If a sober prophet has little honor in his own country, a drunken one has still less. Paracelsus found it at last convenient to quit Basel and establish himself at Strasbourg. The immediate cause of this change of residence was as follows. A citizen lay at the point of death and was given over by all the physicians of the town. As a last resource, Paracelsus was called in, to whom the sick man promised a magnificent recompense if by his means he were cured. Paracelsus gave him 2 small pills which the man took and rapidly recovered. When he was quite well, Paracelsus sent for his fee, but the citizen had no great opinion of the value of a cure which had been so speedily effected. He had no notion of paying a handful of gold for 2 pills, although they had saved his life, and he refused to pay more than the usual fee for a single visit. Paracelsus brought an action against him, and lost it. This result so exasperated him that he left Basel in high dudgeon. He resumed his wandering life and travelled in Germany and Hungary, supporting himself as he went on the credulity and infatuation of all classes of society. He cast nativities, told fortunes, aided those who had money to throw away upon the experiment to find the philosopher's stone, prescribed remedies for cows and pigs, and aided in the recovery of stolen goods. After residing successively at Nuremberg, Augsburg, Vienna and Mindelheim, he retired in the year 1541 to Salzburg and died in a state of abject poverty in the hospital of that town. If this strange charlatan found hundreds of admirers during his life, he found thousands after his death. A sect of Paracelsists sprang up in France and Germany to perpetuate the extravagant doctrines of their founder upon all the sciences and upon alchemy in particular. The chief leaders were Bodenstein and Dornius. The following is a summary of his doctrine, founded upon the supposed existence of the philosopher's stone. It is worth preserving from its very absurdity, and is altogether unparalleled in the history of philosophy. First of all, he maintained that the contemplation of the perfection of the deity sufficed to procure all wisdom and knowledge, that the Bible was the key to the theory of all diseases, and that it was necessary to search into the Apocalypse to know the signification of magic medicine. The man who blindly obeyed the will of God and who succeeded in identifying himself with the celestial intelligences possessed the philosopher's stone. He could cure all diseases and prolong life to as many centuries as he pleased, it being by the very same means that Adam and the antediluvian patriarchs prolonged theirs. Life was an emanation from the stars. The sun governed the heart and the moon the brain. Jupiter governed the liver, Saturn the gall, Mercury the lungs, Mars the bile, and Venus the loins. In the stomach of every human being there dwelt a demon or intelligence that was a sort of alchemist in his way, and mixed, in their due proportions, in his crucible, the various elements that were sent into that grand laboratory, the belly. He was proud of the title of magician and boasted that he kept up a regular correspondence with Galen from hell, and that he often summoned Avicenna from the same regions to dispute with him on the false notions he had promulgated respecting alchemy and especially regarding potable gold and the elixir of life. He imagined that gold could cure ossification of the heart and, in fact, all diseases, if it were gold which had been transmuted from an inferior metal by means of the philosopher's stone, and if it were applied under certain conjunctions of the planets. The mere list of the works in which he advances these frantic imaginings, which he called a doctrine, would occupy several minutes.